Welcome back to the BenD and PhilB show. After a long hiatus, we're getting the band back together. Sitting next to me is my good friend PhilB.
Hello!
And a new addition, we are adding our good friend Beez.
Hi.
That's Beez. Jumping right into things, one of our favorite shows has just recently returned via Netflix. It's a semi-original show. It was the 4th season of Arrested Development. PhilB, what were your thoughts on the new season of Arrested Development?
First, I'd like to mention that this show is sponsored by A, wine in a mug, It's Not Joe, What Do You Know? And B, Jack Link's Beef and Cheese, brought to you by Jack Link's Beef and Cheese. What I thought about the 4th season, I thought that they really kind of lost the... Everybody said that George Michael was the character that everybody bonded with, but Michael Bluth was the one who I thought was the most cohesive out of the one who I felt was the best Bond to. George Michael was just so awkward. Michael was the one who everybody felt for. And they really kind of led that character astray this season. But overall, it was worth watching all 15 or 16 episodes in a row.
Beez, did you like the new format of the characters all kind of running concurrent instead of episodes with everyone all together?
I get why people had issues with it, and I admit that at first it was a little off-putting, but the more you watch, I think the more it worked, the more it came together, and it, especially with the new format, since they're all being released at once, it makes sense to do a different approach to it, plot-wise.
Do you think it was intentional that they had everyone separated, or do you think it was more because of actors' availability? I mean, I know a lot of people were green screened in.
Oh, I think they've said it's because of actor availability. Actually, if you notice, I can say spoilers. We're assuming everyone's seen it.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you notice, the one scene that they're all in is that party, what turns out to be George Michael's graduation party. And it's cool because, and I have to admit, this is not entirely my original thoughts, my brother's, but in the first episode, it's just like Michael, his parents, and Buster you see there, and then it pulls back in the next episode, and like Lindsay's there, and it pulls back, and every episode it pulls back more, and then you find out it's George Michael's graduation party, and they're all there, and that's kind of the central hub around which all the other events occur, aside from, of course, Cinco de Cuatro.
But people thought that people liked the repetition within the episodes in the original 3 seasons, but people really thought it was a stretch they thought it was too repetitious this time around.
Well, that's really more how you watch it, though, I would say.
People just did not like that. That's the general view.
I think you're more rewarded, though, for binge watching it all together. I think seeing how it all comes together at the end. I think it's rewarded even watching episodes repeated times.
Mitch Hurwitz came out and said, "Don't watch them all at once." He tweeted, "Don't watch them all at once," and he tweeted that you should watch them all.
If they didn't want people to watch them all at once, then they shouldn't have released them all together.
Agreed. I would say you watch it how you want to watch it. If you want to binge watch it, fine, because you're probably going to want to watch it again. I'm watching the second time currently. I'm like 2/3 of the way through, and I'm picking up on a lot more. I even just watched the first 3 seasons, and I'm still picking up on jokes that I never caught before. So it's really a show that demands repeated viewings.
Food for thought, who was the best character on the new season? I'll go ahead and say it has to be Tobias. His episodes were by far the strongest episodes. Maybe it's just because I like him a lot, but I thought just everything down to his license plate, the gag with that, and him going to the methadone clinic thinking it was the Method 1 acting clinic, to everything else he did.
I would agree either him, especially since they didn't keep doing the same jokes with him entirely. They did a little, but it was a new kind of joke. I don't know exactly what, but I would say him or Job. The scene with Job and Tony Wonder where they kept going, same.
That was probably my second favorite episode.
Job was my favorite. Every time they cut away to the sound of silence, just him kind of with this dense stare.
Mariachi band.
Yeah, and just the sound of silence just cracked me up every single time. That was the gag I liked, the running gag I liked.
Can I address something you said about Michael? Because this is a thought I had. Apparently, I'm not the first one to have it, but I did have it originally.
Faker.
Yeah, Faker. About Michael, clearly he's clearly self-involved in this season. I would say that he was always self-involved. It wasn't as obvious in the first 3 seasons. I would compare it to Godfather and Godfather 2. In Godfather, Michael Corleone is like the likable one. He kind of doesn't want to be a bad guy, and he turns into a bad guy. And people, apparently, this is what I've heard. I can't point to any literature that actually supports this right now, but Michael Corleone, people watch that movie and they're like, oh, this is cool, this family's cool. And they basically had to make Godfather 2 to show you Michael's not a good guy. And Arrested Development Season 4 is kind of the Godfather 2. It shows you Michael was always a bad guy, just as bad as the rest of them.
A self-involved guy like the rest of them.
Well,
Right.
If you
Not
watch
bad,
Breaking
bad
Bad,
is
if you watch Breaking Bad, it's the same thing.
Right.
They turn Bryan Cranston into a terrible person, yet people still always root for him.
Exactly.
And that was the thing, is it was such a drastic change between... to me, it was semi-evident that Michael was doing these things for the benefit of himself and then the benefit of the family, but living with his son at college, that running gag, that just drove me crazy, because that was
I thought that was one of the strongest parts.
I did too.
That was just completely...
Well, I mean, a decade
awful.
has elapsed since the final season before that, so I mean, they had to do something. They said going in that it wouldn't be the same Arrested Development.
And I think they showed it, like, with the mailman dying. Like, you see Michael's he's not evil. He's not, when I said bad guy, I meant that loosely,
Well, it also reminded me a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean 2,
which I love.
which was...
That's my favorite.
Yeah, really.
So we're
like
probably the only 2 or 3 people that can agree that we liked the second Pirates of the
liked
Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean 1 over Pirates of the Caribbean 2. But what Pirates of the
Close.
Caribbean 2 to me was just we made so much money on one, guess what, we're making a third, let's lead into the third. And so, season 4, this didn't seem to have any closure because they're leading to a movie and or a
They
fifth
said,
season.
maybe another season. But I think if they did another season, they would make more of an effort to get the actors together. I mean, they've bought time now to do it.
And I actually do agree with you on that. I think it's a great season finale, not a great series finale. I like everything that happened in this, but I do not want this to be the end, and I won't be happy if this is all there is.
I think they pretty much set it up for that, though. I mean,
I hope
you can't end it on that. It wasn't. I don't even think it was supposed to be ambiguous. It wasn't like the ending of The Sopranos or like Cut to Black or even anything like that.
Isn't it Sally Sitwell versus Lindsay in a political race now?
Yeah,
That's what it will be.
Although it's the last moment. It's such a cathartic moment between George Michael and Michael.
Yeah, and he hits him.
He just socked him, and that's like the big mystery throughout the whole series or season, that he has a black eye. And you don't know why up until that moment.
Oh.
Yeah, see? Have to watch it again.
Comes full circle.
You saw the season 1 through 3 wrap up in the mural behind him in Phoenix?
No.
You didn't see
Oh
that?
my god, I missed that.
What wrap up?
I didn't realize
in the first Michael episode, whenever he flies from into Phoenix, he arrives
They
at
make
the
the
airport.
Pittsburgh joke.
They make the Pittsburgh joke. And he was walking, and there's a season by season wrap up in a mural behind him where there's the banana stand behind him. There's all.
Really?
Yeah.
See? Didn't catch it.
Well, gotta watch it a third time, I guess.
Exactly.
What you'll now hear is a little treat. If you don't watch Game of Thrones or you haven't caught up with the third season, you can fast forward a little bit. But what you're about to hear is PhilB's reaction to the Red Wedding. And without further ado, here it is.
Uh-oh. Oh my god! Whoa! Even fucking more? Oh yeah! Whoa! Oh my god! That happened so quickly.
Beez! The Lannisters send their regards.
Oh my god! He just took an arrow in the back. Or, oh my god! All this violence and no boobs.
PhilB, your immediate thoughts on what you just witnessed?
That was insane. I am speechless. I'm kind of frustrated.
I think I was reading it at work when I read the book, and he really does build that tension as well as in the episode. Like you're turning the pages, you're going, "This isn't right. Something bad's going to happen. Oh no! Oh no! No! No!"
I mean, they lay on the guilt trip the whole season, too. Especially with her being pregnant. Like, I'm going to name the baby Ned, and then
And that's
Bam.
not in the book. Like, she's barely a character. The wife of Robb Stark, is barely a character in the book. And she's not even at the wedding in the book, I think.
And PhilB, if you noticed, you could see Tywin Lannister writing those letters all season.
Right.
That was him plotting the wedding.
Oh. The Lannisters send their regards. Wow.
It reminds me of the Stand. Like, halfway through that book, Stephen King hit a block, and he could only break through it by having a bomb happen in the book and blow up, like, half of the characters.
Kind of reminds me of Miller's Crossing. And one of the Coen brothers flicks.
Yeah.
It was just the violence and the I'm going to betray him, but it's only to get on the inside so that I can actually triple betray somebody else.
Well, even people who have read the book weren't prepared for the stabbing of the girl, because in the book the wife's not even a character and she's not even there, but in this one they walk right up and stab her right in the belly repeated times.
Just twisting the knife.
God, that was wow.
It's painful.
I mean,
So where do you see things going from here
I have
as a
no
non-book
idea.
reader?
I have no idea. Being that I am not a book reader, I have no idea where this goes. I'm I'm speechless.
We had to like put on a comedy or something after we watched that a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago.
I think Veep is on right after.
Yeah, we couldn't watch Veep. We had to turn it off.
Can we throw on some Parks and Recreation right now or something? Because I kind of need to relax a little bit.
Leslie and Ben's new, wedding episode.
Yeah, Leslie's and Ben's wedding episode where it isn't so violent. I have not seen that much throat slashing since Braveheart.
Really?
Was there
Yeah.
a lot in Braveheart?
There was
yeah.
a ton in Braveheart.
They
Wow.
kill his first wife.
They
with
kill
the
his
throat
wife,
slit-
well, his only
slashing.
wife, and then he gets revenge. He vengeances her on the British soldier, and then after that, it's just a free for all. It's a Ted Nugent free for all on the rest of the field.
You go ahead.
No. I was going to say, how do you feel about them actually showing the violence? Up until now, for the most part, at least sometimes, they'd cut away, like chemo. Like, they cut away from Ned Stark getting his head chopped off. How do you feel about them showing the violence very, no pun intended, starkly?
I think they were trying to be more... I mean, it's more... I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now.
Shock value.
Well, yeah, that's the one. They wanted to surprise people with it this time, and they wanted to be very cinematic and very dramatic with the Stark, beheading. But this was just, wow,
Yeah, I think I wanted to show it very realistically, very
real time,
painfully.
Yeah.
Well, since that's mainly the end of the season, who do you think your MVP of this season was?
The Hound.
Yeah, I mean, I always go with the Hound or Arya.
The
They're
Hound's
my
easy.
favorite characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tyrion's role was definitely diminished this season, but that's because it's like that in the books. I mean, he'll kick in next season again.
He will have a lot to do next season. I'll just leave it at that.
I think any scene with him and Cersei was awesome this season, just them bickering or the councils that they had.
And it was completely unnecessary, but I love the very minor subplot about Podrick.
Yeah, how
The-
like every
the
time he goes
prostitutes.
somewhere, there's just whispers about him and his sexual prowess. Like to segue right into something a little more happier. The Office finale. Now, PhilB gave up on The Office after Michael Scott left and came back to it just for the finale, which I'd like to get your opinion on how seamless that was coming back to that after all of it.
I watched the last 3 episodes and then the finale, so I kind of transitioned back. I missed out on the whole, Michael Wallace all of a sudden's back and all that, and
David Wallace. Michael Wallace is the
Michael Wallace
homophobic
is the-
receiver that we had.
my bad, and also the CNN announcer or whatever announcer, newscast announcer. But yeah, so it was having David Wallace back was interesting, and I don't know,
Only in a reduced role.
well, I know it was a reduced role, and that's what she said was probably the best line that Michael Scott had. That was great to have Steve Carell back in his gray hair.
But I also like that he took a back seat for the show since he already had in his words, he already had his own finale, so the focus should not have been
Right.
him.
The focus was on the people who stuck with it.
And real quick, I hate to flashback, but I want to speak on that. His finale, his last moment with Pam was amazing.
Should have been the end of the series.
A lot of people were saying that as you go along with The Office, that you realize more and more that Pam is the main character, that it's focused around. She's the heart of the show, even though you think it's Jim, Dwight, Michael. It's really
Jim.
about Pam.
It's Jim. If
No,
you're
I
a
think
dude.
Pam because her
No, it's been
relationship
Pam
with
all along.
Michael is the best part of that show, not her relationship with Jim. I mean, that's nice and all, and they kind of
It's more
messed
behind
with
the
us.
scenes until the last few seasons.
Right. But her relationship with Michael was the most interesting because she hated him at first, yet they were still some kind of best friends. By
On
the
both finales, both when Michael left and this finale, it's always been Pam and Michael, and Pam and Jim.
end. And I love the line, I feel like all my kids grew up and got married to each other.
That
Or
one,
the fact that Michael Scott had to buy 2 iPhones to store all his pictures, so he finally has the family plan that he wanted.
And Ryan and Kelly running off together was classic. And by the way, real quick, off subject, Mindy Kaling's show is actually really funny.
Really?
The Mindy-
And
I
after
don't,
the
I
fir-
don't want to like it.
Stay tuned for like the second half of the first season. It gets so much better.
Oh.
The first half of the season, not great. You can see promise, but it gets so much better. It's basically Kelly the show, which I would love because I
Well-
love that character.
While we're off topic, I do want to plug a show that I have not seen even a minute of, but I've heard it's really good. It's Hannibal.
I know.
I'm gonna just go through the whole first season once it's over, but I've heard it's really great, and I really want to watch it. So I'm gonna put a plug out there because I heard it just got renewed for a second season. I'm really rooting for that
hell.
show. It's the guy who was the bad guy in the first Casino Royale. He is Hannibal in this one.
A show that I liked is now canceled, Happy Endings. And I mean, it was good for cheap laughs occasionally. USA was thinking about picking it up,
Yeah, then they said no.
But then they said no, so they ended on a neutral note. Kind of stunk.
I heard that show was pretty funny though.
I mean, the first season again takes a little bit to get into.
It was like Parks and Rec. They had to find their groove,
Yeah,
especially
you
in
just
comedies.
you gotta hit your stride.
Just like
and
The
they-
Office, when they stopped going off the UK version, they,
they
really
hit their stride and then they canceled it.
Let's talk about first seasons because I think there are very few shows that really hit it early. I think
Archer.
Arrested did it. Archer did it. You're right. What else?
Bob's Burgers.
I agree. That show is amazing.
Community hit pretty
I
strong.
like how they started the new Archer season with him as Bob in Bob's Burgers, having no idea where he's at, and segueing into the new season of Archer.
And here's the thing: I actually wanted it to go on longer. I wanted more of a crossover between those.
I'm
two.
surprised they even did that. I mean, I guess Fox owns both shows, so it's easy for them to have the rights to do it.
I will say this: H. John Benjamin is the greatest voice actor out there.
Oh, hands down.
They tried to do that live action show, H. John Benjamin Has a Van, and it flopped.
It's
I thought
funny,
it was
though.
okay. It
I
was
like
funny.
But they still didn't renew it for a
Well,
second
the
season.
funny thing about him being a voice actor is one of my favorite roles is just him as the talking can in Wet Hot American Summer.
Of course.
I mean, I understand he's got a great voice, but he didn't have the face for live action TV.
No, I thought that he wrote most of it too, and some of the gags are really funny. Where he's in the bathroom stalls and he's asking if they want to play what's the game
Cash
called?
Stall.
Cash Stall, where he asks the questions underneath the stalls.
And you can't shoot here, and they put like a big check mark up on it.
But
Good show.
it still was. I mean, he still got canceled, right?
It shouldn't be.
Well,
He's
Comedy
not-
Central is really quick to pull the trigger on most shows when they cancel. That's Michael Ian Black's running joke is that every single show he's ever done for Comedy Central gets canceled.
If you ever watched a show called Dog Bites Man, it was about a fake
I've heard
news
about it.
crew doing not real stories, but stories with real people. And it's Zach Galifianakis. It's a bunch of other
Bailey.
people. No, a bunch of other people no one's ever heard of, but you've seen them in other things. And it's very funny. They only did one season. It was on Netflix for a while, but it is hilarious. And it's like Zach Galifianakis' first role.
Not on Netflix anymore.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Speaking of first seasons of shows and Arrested Development, and
And
on the
Netflix.
topic of Netflix shows, thank you, PhilB. I'd like to talk about House of Cards, which, just putting that out there, I thought it was fantastic. Great casting, great show. They put just the right amount of money into it, just the right amount of interest. Kevin Spacey's already signed for a second season.
Oh, good.
They really they have an awesome show on their hands.
Yeah, House
It's
of
critically
Cards.
acclaimed. Everyone loves it.
That was a phenomenal way to start. Hemlock Grove was a big trip up the stairs.
I did not watch that. I watched the
Hemlock
first
Grove
episode.
Stunk.
I had a few.
I mean, that's how it's going to be with those kind of shows, though. It's hit or miss.
I'd had a few apple juices when I watched Hemlock Grove, and didn't love it. But I thought, well, maybe I'm just not in the right state of mind.
Hemlock Grove was better than any of the Amazon.com premieres.
I have not watched any.
Yeah,
of those.
I'm not going to watch
Zombieland, without any of the original actors, Zombieland, the TV show, it is just
Not interested.
Walking Dead's the only good zombie show on TV. Well, Game of Thrones,
Fact.
but that doesn't count because they're White Walkers.
But about House of Cards, I liked it. I wish the ending had been a little more bookended, like it hadn't been so open. That's like a nitpick. It's
But I mean, that opens it up for the next season.
And that's
I mean,
fine
you can't
if
have
there's gonna
everything
be a next
storybook.
season.
Well, I mean,
There is.
they signed him for 2 seasons. They signed everyone for 2 seasons.
Oh, from the start.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Because, I mean, they knew they pretty much had a winner on their hands when they signed David Fincher to direct a few episodes, Kevin Spacey.
I think my thing is I like the, from what I can tell, British way of doing things where you don't assume you have another season and you will contain that crap.
That's why the BBC is tops.
They are, and while we're at it, suggesting shows no one's ever heard of, watch Peep Show. It's hilarious.
That's on Netflix as well.
It's not anymore.
Oh.
It's
Is
on
that one of
Hulu
those
though.
is that one of those that they just recently dropped because of the contracts?
Netflix? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure if they dropped it, it was a contract thing. Netflix
People-
is picky with their
People
shows.
freak out about that, but like they put up shows, they take down shows.
And
whatever.
really, if you just do a Google search, you can find something to stream in about 5 minutes.
and
They had all of those James Bond movies on there, and then they dropped them all except for Thunderball.
all right, well they'll be up later. Whatever.
There's 100 other things to watch.
Peep Show was on Netflix. It is on Hulu though, and it is. If I describe it to you, it's going to sound like a dumb sitcom, but it is seriously one of the funniest shows I've ever watched. And there are only right now 8 seasons or 7, 6 episodes each. So it's like
Oh.
one season of an American TV show.
It's like Sherlock. There's 3 episodes in one season, which
don't even-
Sherlock is coming back in about a couple months. So we won't get it in America for a while unless we stream it, which we all probably will
I
because
will.
Sherlock's awesome.
It really is.
Speaking of Sherlock, just a quick little segue into Star Trek. PhilB hasn't seen it yet, but did you enjoy Benedict Cumberbatch in Star Trek?
To a point. I'm gonna spoiler alert. He is not Khan in that movie. He's not
That's
the
his
character
name.
of Khan. Yeah, exactly. That's his name. That's it. Whatever. I would be willing to let that go. They did a really interesting thing 2/3 of the way through the movie where it seemed like he was going to be a kind of good guy, like an anti-hero. And that would have been a really interesting take. Like, hey, this is an alternate universe. Wouldn't it be cool if this big villain from the original universe...
But I mean, he kind of is. You can see his motivations behind his thing, so you're sympathetic. It's not a big. I wouldn't care if he got away.
Right, but like, wouldn't it be more interesting if he wasn't the main villain? If he
No, because there'd be no villain to fight against. There'd be
Peter
no
Weller.
plot. What?
Peter Weller.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the movie could have gotten
That's kind of like Django, where they spoiler alert, they kill Leonardo DiCaprio 3/4 of the way through the movie, and they have a bad guy who's not even really that much of a bad guy
But
because you don't
there's
know him
no-
that well. I mean, you do, PhilB, because you watch his show, but
Justified.
There's no background to that though. Like there's no precedent. Like going into the Star Trek movie, most people are supposed to know who Khan is and like go, oh my god.
I
it's
think
Khan.
I think it's the opposite. I think these Star Trek movies were a reboot for audiences like PhilB and myself who hadn't seen much of the originals.
Agreed. That was kind of the idea, and I don't know why they chose the most famous villain from Star Trek to do. But
It's like the same thing with Batman. They brought back the Joker.
everyone knows Joker. Come on.
Not everybody.
Not everyone. Now
Everyone
they do.
knows who the Joker is.
No, because now the Joker is Heath Ledger to everyone. Not to you, but to most people.
No, but I disagree. I
normal
think
people.
To
Everyone,
anyone born in like the mid '90s and onward, that's the Joker.
I completely disagree. Everyone knows Superman, Lex Luthor, Batman, Joker, Spider-Man.
No, not everyone. You're just
Goblin.
making an assumption because we think that that's how it should be.
I'm not sure if I agree.
Well,
All right, whatever. But
No, you
let's-
don't want to agree because you want to live in a world where everyone does know that.
The standings are 2-1 on everybody knows who the Joker is.
Dude, he's in the song. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Joker got away. Is
Again,
that it?
really, that's a generational thing, though. No one's
Everyone
singing.
knows that song. All right, whatever. That's not the point. I'm saying it would be okay if they did Khan, but sorry, too loud. They took the last half hour of Wrath of Khan of Star Trek 2 and just
But I've
redid
never
it.
seen that, so it was fine for me.
But it wasn't as interesting as in Wrath of Khan.
How would
I
I
thought you
know?
didn't
How
like
would I
the
know?
movie.
I have no point of reference.
But I thought you didn't like the movie.
No, I liked the movie. I just thought that there was no definitive arc in the story. There was no
I agree.
beginning or end. It's one main mission that just kind of blurred throughout the movie.
See, it's bad on 2 levels.
No, I enjoyed it though. I thought it was good. I think
I think
thought
it was a
stupid.
ham-fisted 9/11 truther conspiracy wet dream. Excuse me.
I think
Should I not say that word? All right, let me say it again. Well, you can cut it. I think it was a bad 9/11 truther fantasy.
No, I just thought it was stupid that they typed on Into Darkness just because everything has to be dark these days. Like
Thank you. I do
Superman and
agree with
Star
that
Trek.
too.
And Transformers. Dark Side of the Moon, right?
No, Isn't it Dark? I don't even know what
Dark
it's
of the
called.
Moon. It doesn't make sense.
What about
But
the
here-
Dark Knight?
But here's the
Dark
thing, that
Knight.
But that's
tone,
good because Batman's a brooding hero.
Exactly.
He's like an anti-hero.
and I actually wanted Dark Knight Rises to be more realistic, ironically, because I usually don't like the realism thing with superheroes, but I wanted Dark Knight Rises to be more realistic, like Dark Knight. Dark Knight was perfect, and it's very realistic. It's very Batman fighting crime, not
And it even segues into
supervillains.
today's NSA surveillance thing because Morgan Freeman has that technology and he doesn't want it.
And that's another good point. That's a movie I can hold up as, hey, I disagree with this movie's morals, but I still love it.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne is the NSA and Morgan Freeman is the voice
Bruce
of the people.
Wayne's George W.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know.
I mean, that's a bit of a stretch, but it's a little
Bit
important.
of a stretch. That's an Iron Man 3.
Hey, I love Iron Man 3.
Yeah, wait, thoughts on that?
I liked it.
When I saw it again, 2D with a empty bladder, I loved it.
I think.
Go on.
Well, I don't know. They didn't spiral as much as I thought they were going to.
I think your point about Guy Pearce not having a great motivation, that's fair. I think he was just a war profiteer, which
It
is
just feels like they threw him in there. It was light years better than the second one. I mean, there's no doubting that, but I just couldn't, he's just there.
see it again. Focus more on Tony.
See it again with an empty bladder.
Yeah.
It's true. I had that problem
No,
as
the
well.
3D was awful.
Oh, okay.
And your point about the suits not being used is fair. I could probably come up with a BS reason why they weren't.
He's
used.
Iron Man and his suit is him, and I realize that's the whole point of the movie is that he's not his suit, he's Tony, but that's a lie. He's
But
a hero and he uses his suit, and that's the point of him being a superhero. I don't care about him sulking around with a little kid in the South.
Oh, but I love those scenes. I love the scenes with the kid.
Robert Downey Jr. is good, but he's the same thing in every movie. I want to see him in his suit fighting crime.
But he did that too.
Yeah, but it was like when the stakes, it was already predetermined, like what was going to happen by the time he had his suit on.
Fair enough, but I think it captured, it got the idea that he is a hero at, no pun
Yeah,
intended,
he had a
at
change
heart.
of heart.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, see, it wasn't even intentional.
But he still could pull it off without the suit. He could still build his little gadgets and stuff and be a hero.
Well, now there are reports though that he might not, or
Robert Downey.
Downey Jr. There are reports that Robert Downey Jr. might not sign back on because he might command too much money and Marvel might not buck up. Do you think if those three movies stood alone with the Avengers that would be a good arc for Iron Man?
I'd have to see who they cast for the new one.
Well, say
But-
they don't cast him. Say that those movies are just standalone.
Would they do an Avengers 2 without him? Or what?
That's-
I would hope
question.
they would have him in the new one and kill him, at least.
How do you kill
Well, they'd
Tony
still have to
Stark?
pay. They'd still have to pay Robert Downey Jr. to be in that movie, and to do that, they'd have to.
Yeah, I'd hope
why
they
kill
fess
him?
up some money for that one movie and kill him, at least.
So then
I'd rather-
they can reboot the whole.
No,
Iron Man.
don't bring him back. Have, Don
There's
Cheadle
millions
fill
of
in.
heroes. Yeah.
Well, Don Cheadle is supposed to fill in. Warhammer, or what's his name? War Machine is supposed to take over for Tony in a
And
while.
also, he doesn't
Iron
really
Fist.
even do much. He's just a talking head in the third movie. He just gets captured and
I
like,
know.
oh damn.
That's like the point, though. Like he's Tony Stark if he bowed to a higher authority.
It's like Hawkeye in Avengers.
That's like the one big flaw with Avengers is Hawkeye is a kind of a bad guy, but he does kind of prove his worth in the last third of it.
yeah.
I think this is my thing with what I think will be my thing with Man of Steel, and is my issue not with Chris Nolan's movies, but what I think they might inspire, and why I love Avengers. And I'm not making up this phrase, so apologies for whoever I read this from. There's a lack of unironic earnestness in superhero movies. Avengers had it, but I think DC movies aren't having it lately, at least not
Well,
Superman.
It's a
from
hard
Batman.
line to draw with DC and Marvel because they're two different kinds of.
But what's weird though is DC should have it more than Marvel. Marvel was always the more gritty, realistic thing. Not gritty, maybe not so much, but more realistic comic universe. And DC was always the fantastical aliens and technology and stuff. And I want more hope in these movies, not distancing yourself from the comic book genre, I guess. And it worked. What I'm saying is it worked with Batman. It did. I don't think it will work with other ones.
Well, they said in the new Superman movie that it's a world where Bruce Wayne could still be in because they really want to pump that Justice League movie out. Which, I don't even think I'm very much against that.
But it's so interesting to have a world where Bruce Wayne is...
That's fine. There's a world where they exist together. I just don't care if I see that movie or not. The Justice League. Marvel's one thing.
What if they filmed it in Pittsburgh? Pumped some
That's
money
your
in our
contribution
economy.
to this conversation.
Well, yeah, they could get some money to the city of Pittsburgh.
They
if
already
they
filmed Dark Knight Rises here.
Well, I know, but if they did a Wonder League or a Justice League or a Wonder Woman movie here,
A Wonder Woman movie would need to be made by Joss Whedon. Let's face it, because she's too...
Just like how J.J. Abrams is now filming the new Star Wars.
I'm
Wars
still on
trilogy.
the fence about that. If he's open about it, if
If you want the best, you got to go to the best.
he's a good...
Who would you have direct the new Star Wars?
I don't know, but he's a good filmmaker.
James Cameron.
James
He would be good, actually. No, J.J. Abrams is a good filmmaker, of course. But I don't like his whole, I'm not going to tell you who the villain of Star Trek
We'll
is.
just show a lens flare and have someone...
I don't even mind the lens flare. I just don't like the whole secrecy thing. The whole, he could be Khan, he couldn't be, I don't know.
No, admit it, you love that. Well, otherwise, what reason would you have for using the internet?
I used to love it, but then I realized with Star Trek Into Darkness, it does not work all the time. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's fun when you hear,
Well, it's like Dark Knight Rises with Miranda Tate as Talia.
See, I think they should have cut that.
No, I thought that was awesome. I gasped in the movie theater.
It would have been so much cooler if Bane was the main villain. I like Bane as a villain. I love
But
Bane.
he still was the main villain throughout.
No, he kind of got...
She was behind the scenes. She funded it.
It didn't work as much to me.
I disagree.
Okay.
I figured her out about halfway through the movie.
Oh, me too.
I had no idea. I mean, I thought that would be her, but then I forgot about it for a while until she showed up and stabbed him.
Let me rephrase this. I liked it when I saw it, and then I thought about it, and I didn't like it. I still like that movie. I think it's a good movie. It definitely has the emotional weight that it should have had. It has
Yeah,
the emotional
I like
farce.
the scale that they made it on. It
still
wasn't one or two guys just killing a few people. It was the whole city.
But I kind of wanted it to go more realistic, ironically, even though I don't usually like that direction. But with Batman, with Dark Knight especially, I wanted it to be more about crime and less about terrorism.
Can you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Batman, PhilB?
Yeah. With the funny, my name's Robin. Yeah.
Disagree.
I didn't like that.
I had initial bad reaction to it.
It's fine that his name's Robin, but if he becomes Batman, that's what I would want.
Exactly. I want Bruce Wayne as Batman. I don't want some other guy. And I'm
what
not even a
about-
big DC guy.
Even like a Batman Beyond type situation where they...
No one,
Not for the
audiences
Justice
wouldn't
League.
go for that.
Not for the Justice League.
Oh,
I want Batman. I want Bruce Wayne.
But
Bruce
Bruce
Wayne
Wayne
is haunted by tragedy. This is my...
Yeah, but the guy who was Robin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he was an orphan too. It's the same backstory. He was relating. He knew.
But it's not as good. Come on.
Well, we wouldn't know. We haven't dug into it that much.
I guess, but...
But hey, it was filmed in Pittsburgh, so.
Yeah.
so hey, that works for me.
He flies over the buildings.
So, I've had enough of this nerd fest, and I'd like to talk about what music I've been listening to recently.
Real quick.
It's been Florida Georgia Line Cruise, the original, not this Nelly remix. And I also got into the Dawes because they are going to be in Pittsburgh on Tuesday, the 18th, I believe. So I'm pretty pumped for that concert, and Florida Georgia Line is the business.
The two things I've been listening to are the Nationals' new album, Trouble Will Find Me. It's great. Go out and pay for it. We just saw them in concert last week. They were fantastic. They're really great. The other new album I'm listening to is Yeezus by Kanye West, the newest father. So that's interesting. The album is very interesting itself. It's very short. It's really good. It hits hard. So I also recommend you go out and listen to that. Beez, are you listening to anything?
Nothing new, but I've been listening to a lot of Guided by Voices, which is a band that's been around for about 29 years, give or take a few years, because they broke up apparently from like 2004 to 2008, maybe. They're a good band, though. You should listen to them.
As always, we'd like to thank everyone for listening. We'd like to thank Beez, the newest member of our crew. Beez?
Whatever you do, take care of your shoes.
And we'd like to thank everybody for rejoining us after our brief hiatus. And please spread the word.